We're on a show today talking about, big word, neural programming, but it's a very simple science that really talks about your psychology, your mind, how you are creating reality. Now, we defined at the first part of the show that a neural program is just nothing more than the strategy or recipe or truth or belief about how you assign a meaning to this moment. Is this moment safe? Is it dangerous? Do you see risk? Do you see reward? Do you see opportunity? Do you see danger? We do a lot of polar opposites here to kind of get a feel, but it's a continuum. You can see things as very balanced. You can see both sides of the coin. But in this process of how you create reality, you're taking a meaning of the moment, you're attaching an emotion to it, and as a consequence, you're taking an action. We're talking about the 7 things that really go into creating your unique program. We did the first 3, karma or fate, your destiny, if you will, is the first one. That's what you come here with. You have genetics that take a place. Are you extroverted? Are you introverted? Are you a thinker? Are you a motor? Do you feel things? Do you analyze things? Are you more of a doer versus a ponderer? All these different ways genetically. That's why parents are always amazed when you have children. You raise them all the same and they turn out radically different. A lot of that is sometimes in the genetics of who they are. We're in the third piece of this, family programming, the family of origin programming. And the question came from Bob. Welcome back after the break, Bob.
Thank you, Bill.
The question came from Bob on this family of origin. Let's talk a little bit about this and understand this. If you are either upset with your parents or you feel gratitude because you had great parents and you feel like they did a lot to start your life, or if you got those parents that you feel like did a lot to screw you up. First of all, they were programmed themselves. So their father and mother, your grandparents programmed them, and the great-grandparents programmed the grandparents. And so we can look back at any unique individual, and it's one of the reasons in my assessment when I bring in new clients at the individual level, and we can do this at a corporate level as well. When you bring them in, you look at the trace the history of, there is a history exercise that just looks at what's the history of. So you look at maybe your parents might have been Vietnam era, the grandparents might be Depression, World War II. The grandparents might be immigrants. You might have parents that are younger or older than that, depending on your age. It doesn't matter. You can trace back what they were told and what has passed down to the family. And again, it's not a black and white perfect science. There is some grayness to this, and the next 4 programs that we're going to talk about of the 7, that's where the individual variations begin to take place. But at the fundamental level, the foundation that's set up is in your family of origin. And again, the question we went on break with Bob was, how do we help back to school kids? You have to help yourself first. So whatever it is you're teaching your kids, and by the way, this is kind of cool and you should feel good about this. You don't have to do it perfectly any more than you expect your teenager or your adolescent to do it perfectly. But you have to demonstrate and live and breathe and believe that you are working on you, that you are changing your programming, you are trying to create something different, better, greater for yourself. And just the act of motion, just the act of moving towards, just the act of working on the psychology of the things that we're talking about, that will open up the teenager, will open up the adolescent so that they understand, oh, I can work on me too. If you are a fixed, this is what the planet is and it's good, or this is what the planet is, it's dangerous and unsafe, and people are out to screw you, whatever the family of origin programming is that the parents are running, if you're listening to this program, just as you want your teenager to grow and to change and improve and get better, you've got to be doing the same things yourself, working on you, creating you at a higher, better level.
Isn't consistency of message, and that's one of the things you and I have talked about in the coaching sessions, the consistency of outlook, consistency of message, also very important?
Absolutely. The interesting thing is that consistency of message is impacted by, sometimes I'll call them environmental influences. So maybe through 2008, you had a very great consistent message, and then the economy absolutely turned you upside down. And, other people, the economy was a blip. Other people, it's been devastating. Other people might have a consistent message and the mom develops breast cancer. And now all of the consistencies of messages get kicked into a whole nother place. New programs begin to interact. So if you, at some level, realize, well, I think I'm safe, or I think I can succeed, or I think that life is good, and something happens that for some people, it traumatizes them or takes away their belief that life is good or that life is fair, and they get launched into this place temporarily, sometimes permanently, that they believe life is terrible and life is unfair, and my whole life I was one thing and now in a moment they're changed to something else. Absolutely, consistency of message has a very key component to it. And what's really exciting is if you look at the consistency of the message that you want to program with, and then look at the things that are happening to you in your environment, the more powerful you can stick to your message despite what the environment is doing, the more powerful of a being you're actualizing or realizing or creating, which will empower your kids to create and realize and actualize their power as well.
Well, that just makes so much sense, Bill.
Thank you. So family of origin, the thing that's really critical if you're listening to this program, and it's one of the reasons why we call it the Inevitable You or the Inevitable Radio program, is that even if you've been crapped and dumped on and you have terrible parents, or you've been traumatized and something really, really heinous has happened to you, and as a result, you're creating yourself as this is who I am because I cannot be anything different. The great news, the very great news about all of this is anybody can be anything they want at any point in time in their life.
Thank you for listening to the Inevitable Podcast. Please visit our website for more information on this extraordinary coaching system at www.theinevitableyou.com. Then, sign up for your 2-week free trial of our membership to gain access to hundreds of hours of amazing content and tools just like this.
Bob's done a lot of this work. I think it would be safe to say, Bob, that you've seen some pretty great dramatic gains. Not that you were bad or suffering or anything was wrong with you to begin with. Bob and I met, a year ago?
Just about a year ago now.
And Bob actually came in from the radio station. He was a radio listener. And did work. He was in an above average space at that time, and I would safe to say that your life has taken off like a rocket ship.
It's been fun. You helped ground me. You helped me go back and understand where some of my programs were. And that started clear back in, my childhood, and then we brought them forward, and so that I can understand some of the complexities of my life and the way I deal with things. So this has been a wonderful journey for me with you, and I think some of your listeners out there might like to know what that journey looks like from the other side of the chair.
Well, let me turn the tables. I'd like to ask you, because this is always a very fascinating point for me, because you didn't take off like a rocket ship. You pondered this and spent some amount of time, and even in the moments as you shifted, sometimes they were little shifts, and there was a couple of big dramatic leaps forward. What do you think was the key to you having, again, at an above average life? I mean, you're above average guy on your worst day on the planet before you met me. What do you think was the key or keys that allowed you to really begin accelerating into a new place?
Well, one of the things that you really helped me with was understanding some of the the predecessor type programs I had been running, and by understanding that gave me a huge base from which to build solid future advances on. And I think as you talked and you mentioned that, I didn't take off like a rocket ship, but I sort of consolidated my base, I think would be a term there, so that I understood from where I had come, my programming in the past, how I chose personally then to change those programs, acknowledge those programs, and move forward as a base for my future activities. And I think that was a very key piece.
Do you have a program that would illustrate what you're talking about that you feel comfortable sharing with the listeners? Give them an example.
Give me a moment to think about that one, because the complex texture of everywhere from being in high school and maybe being an overachiever, but not really understanding what that meant. And then as you go through time, particularly in my case, then you start to question whether or not that was a fluke. And it takes a while, once that you have swallowed for whatever purpose, for whatever reason, that you're being lucky, instead of that this is the core fabric of how you can produce and perform. It takes a little while to undo that one, to where it's no longer a surprise when this happens, but that this was really kind of where I'm at.
Would you be comfortable giving a couple, 3 sentences on The Traveler?
Sure. What Bill found with me, I think, was that most of us have goals in life, and the goals in life for a lot of people are, they're financial, they are where you want to, what countries you'd like to travel to, and we'll come back to that in a moment. What kind of spouse, what kind of relationship we'd like to have, all kinds of things. And especially if you've done some self-development work, you spend some time working on goals, written or otherwise. What Bill helped me discover was that for me, I'm a little different animal in here. I'm a little different being, in that I'm really all about the quality, the texture, the tonality of the journey versus the actual endpoint on the horizon that we're shooting at. And by knowing that tiny little fact, doesn't sound like much, it allowed me to understand so many of my previous successes, how I got there, and a lot of my anxieties when things didn't quite go so right. So just that little piece of understanding and unlocking that texture of my programming, world of difference.
It is inevitable, much of what takes place. And if you want to seek greatness, if you want to move out of a place that you've been stuck in your life for a very long time, there are very easy tools and techniques. It's different than counseling or therapy. It's not that. It is a coaching process that takes you through the programs that you use to create reality. Change the programs, and everything about you begins to change. It is an incredible way to work on, to focus on, to change, to create anything in your life that you are looking to create. So we're in the 7 things. Bob asked, when we talked about the show last night, Bob asked, these programs, how do they come about? What do they mean? Let's talk about the basis for these programs. We've talked about the first 3. Let me get through the last 4 really quick in our last handful of minutes here. We talked about your karma or fate or destiny is kind of a big one. Who you came here to be. The genetics that are impacting that. So the nature versus nurture does have an impact. The big one that we spent a lot of time on, your family of origin programming, is certainly very, very critical. Let's run through the last 4. The culture or environment that you find yourself in, and this is far beyond just family of origin, and culture and environment is something that will influence you the entire time. It can be the school system that you're in. It could be the economic. It could be the climate. It could be your race and where you fit in the culture. Culture and environment has influences on reality. We talk about the time, both the time of your life and the time on the planet, what's going on with that. We talk about what type of trauma and or celebratory things that could happen. You could win the lottery. You could have something really good happen to you. You can have the next one, and last one is a really fun one. You can be the antithesis of your program. You can be a total rebel against the program and say, I'll never be my parents, or I'll never be that. And in fact, and in reality, that means they're still controlling you. And then with those 7 things going on, you will make a choice as to what you do with every day, every breath, every response in your life. Good morning, Zach. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I listen to AM 750 all the time, and it's the first time I've heard your program, and it's right up my alley, and I've been trying to make it be my wife's alley, and I would love to, hear some of your thoughts on it, even how to get her into the idea that it might be possible. Having control.
What do you think is holding her back from believing that she's in control, or not in control? Excuse me.
I think she's had a life experience. The things you talked about today are very powerful, but she's had a life experience where her parents didn't love each other and didn't have a good relationship and didn't want to be together, and I think they kind of, everybody just made it hard on everybody, and she's had this anticipation and this experience that everything is going to go wrong in her life, and everything does go wrong for her in her life, and she's always had a medical problem. She's always having some sort of issue happening, and she doesn't know how to get past that and move on to, that it's just an experience in your life, and to try and embrace there are good things that are happening in her life, but she only visualizes and conceives the negative stuff.
Do you have children, Zach?
Stepchildren. They're both hers. So.
How old are they now?
One's 11 and one is turned 7 in 2 weeks.
Here's one of the biggest leverage point that you can always have with any parent. First of all, Zach, if she understands that, we started this program out with, it's never works when you say, do as I say, not as I do. Mm-hmm. If she wants her 11 and 7-year-old to grow up, and what's the gender of each, by the way?
The 11-year-old is a boy and 7-year-old a girl.
So here's the way it works. Girls, in their relationship with their mother, learn how to be women. Boys, in their relationship with their mother, learn what love feels like and what a love relationship is. That's why little boys grow up and marry their moms. So if you really want to say, honey, you got to really focus on improving or changing, or if you can't figure out how to do this, the most critical thing you've got to figure out is why you got to figure this out. And the why is always the biggest motivator. The why is, does she want her daughter to grow up being a hopeless adult who is always at the whim and mercy of bad luck and bad experiences on the planet? And does she want her son to grow up and marry a woman who is hopeless and helpless and a victim? If she wants her daughter to be a powerful woman, if she wants her son to marry a powerful wife, she's got to work on these programs to change who she is so that they have an opportunity to change who they are. And if she doesn't do this, well, then you hope when your kids are old enough, they find a great life coach that can teach them how to undo family of origin programming, and they'll always love their mother, but they'll run the same program.
Zach, this is Bob. Bill, are there some key points that you could give to Zach to help that boat start to turn on with his wife? As you know, we all have some of these challenges in our life.
Zach, it always works far more powerfully to come from a place of love as opposed to a place of judgment or criticism. I always love to understand and acknowledge with clients that they're doing the best they can with the tools they've got. What she needs to understand is she has the ability to change the tools, and she has the ability to learn how to use the new tools differently. And again, at the fundamental level, when you change these programs, when you change really at the foundational level of life creation, when you change them, everything changes. Bad luck goes away, good luck comes in, people who believe that they never would have a chance to be different, because a lot of what's taken place in life up to this point keeps reinforcing the family of origin program. But Zach, as you've said, she has good things that happen to her, but she just doesn't know how to take advantage of them or how to create that. And there's some really cool, easy to use tools that A, she can apply to herself, and B, she can then apply to her 11 and 7-year-old, so that you guys can just create a dynamic scenario for those kids.
Yeah, most definitely. You know what? I've been trying to work with her on doing that, and that's kind of, I guess I don't really have a tool to teach her, and so I've worked and talked to her about it. You can change your mind frame, and you can begin to see the positive things and know that those things are real, and then they keep reinforcing themselves, and you got yourself in this rut. And I definitely, I'm intrigued by your program, and I'm really excited that I turned on AM 750 this morning. So,
well, Zach, I appreciate it. Have an awesome morning, and if she ever wants to call in or you want to give us a call, feel free to do that. Have a great day, Zach. That's the music. We're at the end of the show. Far more powerful than you ever imagined. Have a great day.
I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how.
Thank you for listening to the Inevitable Podcast. Please visit our website for more information on this extraordinary coaching system at www.theinevitableyou.com. Then, sign up for your 2-week free trial of our membership to gain access to hundreds of hours of amazing content and tools just like this.